The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to today's Gold Group session with your host, Willie Miranda.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for coming on today's call. And I should probably say good afternoon because it is 4 o'clock Eastern time. But it's been one of those days. It's been a great day, very productive day for us here at Miranda Real Estate Group. Just trying to get a lot of things done and out of the way. Seems like a lot of us, like everyone else I'm sure on this call, are very busy over the summer and with kids and vacations and all the great things that come with it. And the last couple of weeks being outside of the office and coming back here this week was a great catch-up week for me. So, but why I wanted to have this call today, the topic of today's call is going to be on time management. And time management is definitely something that has come up over and over and over again from coaching members and my own current agents that work for me, always looking and always struggling with how best to set up time management strategies in a real estate business. And we get away from it, right? We get a lot of, how should I say, a lot of different distractions that come through, especially when you're out of rhythm or you're out of sync, you're out of your routine. And I know a lot of us just went through this through the summer based on everything that I said before in this call. So I'm hoping that, we're looking at now September, October, November, December. We've got 4 really great months here to really push strong, to close very strong here in 2015, and to give us a really good start for 2016. So that's our goal here at Miranda Real Estate Group, and I'm hoping to transfer some of that energy over to you guys on this call today. Like I said, I polled a lot of my agents, and always 80% of the time, time management and being focused is always number 1 and number 2. So over the years, I was fortunate. I actually was able to rub elbows with a lot of great agents in my market and also in different markets across the country. But I've also been able to not only do it on the real estate side, but also be able to hang around with some really great people on the insurance side. So the combination of the two has allowed me to balance both the real estate business, the insurance business, and now obviously with the coaching business as well. And I always get the question, Willie, how do you do it all? Like, I'm just trying to do this one business, and you got all these other businesses, and how do you do that? And I have to first start by saying that, I really give a lot of credit to my staff and my agents that work for me. My staff is incredible. They do a great job. They're very efficient. We meet every day, do daily huddles, so we know exactly what's going on for that day, what the priorities are. And then at the end of the day, we recap, and then we start the next day knowing, coming into the next day what needs to be done. We have weekly meetings, which are more the ones that I'm involved in. My brother Brian, who's the general manager, does the daily huddles with the staff, and I'll chime in every once in a while. But I make sure that I'm there for those meetings once a week. So, but why I say this is because I talk to a lot of different agents, and if they don't have an appointment going on in the morning, we don't see them in the office, I'll call them up, hey, what's going on? Well, I had nothing going on until 1 o'clock today, so I just figured I'd stay home in my underwear and catch up on emails or laundry or whatever else there is. And these are the same agents that I find, 3 months, 6 months down the road into a big slump, and they're shaking their heads as, what happened? What can I have done differently? So I've been doing a lot of one-on-ones with agents, and these are some different things that I share with them on doing time management. So to start off today's call, just as you see here on the screen, time management is really the difference between high-performance people and people who consistently struggle. And think about it. We're all given the same number of hours every day, right? We're all given 24 hours a day. Why is it that, you have 2 agents side by side? One agent is very successful, got their stuff down, they seem like they always know what they're doing. They come in, they're focused, they're getting things done, they're going to the copier, they're handing in their deal pendings, and then they're out the door, right? A lot of these agents are not even in the office a lot because they're out doing what they should be, which is meeting with buyers and sellers. But really, if you look at it, we all have the same amount of time. So when I hear agents say, oh, well, I'm not doing that well, or that person's just lucky, or whatever the situation may be, it really comes down to that person has really done a great job managing their time and making sure that they have their priorities in check so that every day they have a plan. When they get up in the morning and that alarm clock rings, or sometimes your alarm doesn't even have to ring, you're already on a routine of getting up at the same time, you're jumping out of that bed, you're onto the floor and you're ready to go, and you already have a mission of what you're going to be doing for that day. So I'm going to share with you a couple tools, a couple different strategies that I've used over the years and have worked very, very well with many agents that I've shared it with. And I want to start by sharing this one resource here called the No BS Time Management for Entrepreneurs. And this is written by Dan Kennedy. And as a lot of you know, and especially being in the Craig Proctor program, Dan Kennedy is a huge mentor and still is today of Craig Proctor. And Dan is just a master marketing guru. And he's what they call the millionaire maker. He's have chiropractors, dentists, attorneys, you name it. I mean, so many different businesses that I've seen Dan Kennedy be involved in. And how does he do it? How does he manage all of these different coaching members and all these different projects that he's involved in? And he talks, pretty much in your face, to the point, very direct as to exactly what you should be doing during the day in any business. So this book here is for the entrepreneur. And let's face it, as real estate agents, why we got into real estate is because we wanted to be entrepreneurs, right? We are entrepreneurs. We want to be entrepreneurs. We want to be our own boss. We want to be able to manage our own time. And when I'm interviewing different agents coming into the market, I'll ask them, why did you want to get into real estate? You hear the, I like people, or I like selling houses, or whatever, right? Those are all the things that we usually hear, and I kind of chuckle about it. But a lot of them say, because, I want to make that as much money as I can, and I want to be able to have flexibility with time, right? And that flexibility of time is exactly why I see some agents fail in this business. Because, see, when they worked at another job and they had to work for someone else from 9 to 5, they knew they had to be in at 9 o'clock. They took their break at 10:30. They took a lunch at 12 to 1. They came back, maybe had another break in the afternoon, and at 5 or 5:30 in the day, they were able to go home. Every 2 weeks, they'd get a paycheck on a Friday, and that was their life, right? That was their routine. But they had to do that in order to meet their job performance. When you switch over to real estate and now you're your own boss, if you manage your time correctly, like I mentioned before, you can do that same thing, right? You can get in the office at a certain time. You can give your own breaks. You could do your own lunch. You can put an end date to your day. And you can receive consistent paychecks as well if you're doing the proper proactivities on a day-to-day basis. But what happens in real estate is that most of your family members, because you're in real estate and you have the flexibility, almost feel like you don't have a job. And I used to joke about that all the time, that mother would show up here at any given time, or she would, Willie, can you take me to the doctors, or can you take me here, or can you take me there? Like I didn't have a job, right? I couldn't do that if I worked somewhere else 9 to 5. Why should I be expected to do that now? Well, everyone else in my family may have had a 9 to 5 job, so because I had that flexibility, I was the chosen one, right? So, and I think, probably listening to this, a lot of you have those same distractions, or what we call, or what Dan Kennedy calls in his book, time vampires, right? These are the time vampires that come in, they see your car, they sit down, they talk to you, they call you on the phone during the day, talk to you for 45 minutes about whatever. They just swoop in and, think about those people in your office as, hey, you got a minute? And it's never a minute, right? It's always 10 minutes, 15 minutes, a half hour. And these are time vampires that just suck the blood out of your time and out of your productivity on a day-to-day basis. So Dan does a great job doing it. It's probably, if I had to go on Amazon right now, it's probably a $10 paperback that you can download. The best $10 that you ever spent by going through this book. Now, I'll give you one takeaway that I took from this book many years ago, and it's something that I learned from Dan Kennedy. One of the things I was struggling with, and a lot of you on this call might be struggling with it right now, is that I was at a point where I really couldn't focus or do a lot of work in my home office, right? I had a home office there, but my kids were younger. My wife was home. Things would be just distractions, right? And knowing me, and if you guys know who I am, I'm very into family, and very hard for me to tell my kid to get out of the room. I'm working right now. So, of course, I take that break and, have them come in, do what they needed, do different things around the household that I really shouldn't have been doing. And so I couldn't really get a good job or get a good focus in at home. So I switched to the office, right? And at that time, I was with Remax, and I had my own little private office that I paid for over there. But pretty much like clockwork, every day I'd have people knocking on my door. Hey, got a minute? Hey, did you see this house just came on the market and so listed it, $50,000 more, and there's no way they're going to sell it. Or, the copier's not working, or Susie has an attitude at the front desk. You guys know what I'm talking about. Just different things that I really had to ask myself this question, and the question that I got from Dan was, what's the profit in this? You have to ask yourself that several times a day when you're doing something. What's the profit in this? Am I making money, or is this wasting my time? Is this a time vampire to me? So I started finding myself at the office having all those distractions, at home having all these distractions. So I needed to find somewhere to go. So one of the things that Dan had mentioned, and one of my insurance mentors, Mike McLean, had mentioned, was that he rented a suite, office space, where he rented a suite and would have a place that no one knew where he was, and would rent that, and that would be where he would do all his marketing, he would do all his brainstorming, all his focus time. He'd even do calls from there, prospecting calls and recruiting calls at the time. So I said, I'm going to try this out. So I looked for some office space and got a suite space for, I think it was like $200, I don't know if it's $250 a month. It was pretty cheap. And I rented this place out about 4 years. And in that place, I had a little 6-foot table that I popped up, a couple chairs that I had, but I had all those long yellow stickies, those big line paper stickies that I put on the wall. And I'd have my goals on there. I'd have certain to-dos that I wanted to do, certain marketing activities, and all the bullet points of things that I needed to do underneath it. And I would actually set up my marketing plan for the next 12 months. I would set up all my postcard campaigns and all my advertising in newspapers. All of that I would get together. Then I would take that, go to the office, share it with my staff, pat people on the back, do whatever I had to do, and then I was out of there. But I was able to get all my work done in that space. And no one knew about it other than my wife. One day, probably about after a month of me having this space, I brought her out to it, and I said, hey, if one day I don't come home and it's late, here's the first place I want you to check. We joke about it, but that's exactly, no one knew where it was. I never brought anyone there, and I got tons of stuff done. So I highly recommend that. If you don't have that space, to go out and create that space somewhere that you could be very productive, if it's not at home or not at the office. If you don't have the money for a suite, or again, you don't have the option to do that, a couple ideas I can give you. Lenders or mortgage attorneys or other people that have space may have some extra space that they're willing to give you or lease out so that no one knows where you are. Maybe it's just a conference room that's never used. That's a good idea. And then the third option that I used before I had a suite space was that I go to a local library. You had to be quiet there. You couldn't use your cell phone there. At the time, I really couldn't get Wi-Fi through through my computer, because at that time they just didn't have it like they do today. But point being is I was able to focus and take an hour or two and just focus 100% on the task at hand. And that's how my life and my business really changed, because I was able to focus in on that time slot. So great book, and one I highly recommend. The second one is a book called The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes. And again, not a real estate book. Neither one of these are a real estate book, but it's really about business, right? And he talks about 12 key strategies on how to be the ultimate sales machine. And in his first chapter, Chet talked about really going over the different bullet points that you needed to do in order to be successful, and some of the things that you needed to do to organize your day and organize your time, and how to focus and strategize on how to do that. Does a great job with it, and in his first chapter is all about time management. And there's a couple bullet points that I have on here that I can share with you. But his 6-step strategy basically was touching it once, making a list, and I'm going to show you another sheet on this in a second. I'm just going to pop through these. Planning how much time you need to allocate for each task. 4, planning your day, prioritizing, and then asking yourself, will it hurt me to throw this away? How many of us are like hoarders sometimes of information and paper and things that we just can't let go of, but we find ourselves over and over again going through the material and looking at it again, and it's a huge time management nightmare. So you definitely want to get caught up in that. But let me see if I could just pull up one of the things here that Chet talked about, and this is a sheet that one of my staff members typed up for me for one of our training. But it was 6 management tips. Hopefully you can see that on there. But it talks about touching it once. If you touch it, take action. So think about some of the mail that you might receive, and if it's not the right time for you to be going through mail, then stick it in an envelope for later on or on a Friday when you can go through it. But then once you open it, touch it once, take action. So you're either going to do something with it that's going to take maybe 5-10 minutes to do and get it out of the way. Maybe it's paying a bill. Maybe it's signing something off, filling a form, registering for something, whatever it may be. If it takes you 5 or 10 minutes to do, go ahead and do it. If not, delegate it to someone else, staff, spouse, whatever you have to do with it, or ditch it, right? Throw it away. If it doesn't mean anything, is that important to you, throw it away, or put in a reference file for a future day if it's going to take you a lot longer period of time where you have to put it into your schedule. And it says on there, don't open that email or letter until you're ready to deal with it, which is what I just mentioned. Don't start, fidgeting through that stuff if you're in the middle of concentrating and doing something else that's more productive and more dollar productive for you. All right, number 2, making a list. One of the things that I've noticed, I'm talking with a lot of agents throughout the country and some of the top business people, because I belong to the EO Entrepreneur organization here in Albany, and they're a global organization. But in my group, I have 8 guys in my forum that they call it. And all of these guys swear and live by a list, just like I do. Right now, my to-do list is about 9 pages long. And what's on that to-do list? Different things that I want to do, different things I need to follow on, maybe something that's in my, down the road folder I have in there. But bottom line is that you need to make a list. You need to have things down so you don't forget things. The worst thing you could do, especially in this business, is if someone's, you say to someone you're going to give them a call back, or, hey, yeah, I'll definitely get you that file, or I'll get something back to you. You have to make sure that you're ready and you get that information back. All right, so that's very important. But making a list to help you stay focused on your high priorities and high productive matters. Keeping a list will double your productivity, right? Because you can get things done. You don't forget things. You get it to people back when you tell them you're going to get it back to them. And it's just the way to do business. You want to stick to the 6 most important things that you'll get done that day. Okay, and I'm going to show you a little bit on how we do that with a sheet that we have. But Chet talks about we have one of the reasons why we're so unfocused and feel at the end of the day where you're just totally exhausted but feel you didn't get anything done is because we try to take that 9-page to-do list and just start picking around at what we think is important. And usually what happens is that we're doing the least important items on there just to get them off our list, but they're not essentially what we really should be doing. So he says, you know what, take your 6 most highest important things that you need to get done that day, put them on paper, and then you're going to allocate them into your schedule. So I'll show you how that works in a second. And then when you have a longer list, you generally do the easier things, like I said before. You want to keep that list totally separate, like I do, and you'll get to them down the road as time goes on. You'll keep improving, obviously your daily list, and you'll be taking it off that big list there. Number 3 here, plan how much time you will allocate for each task. So it's very important that you determine how long is it going to realistically take for you to dedicate to do this. So when I'm working on a postcard campaign, or I'm working on a just listed or just sold campaign, and I know I want to hit a certain market, I know I want to spend at least 1 hour getting the postcard together, making sure that I got the language that I want, making sure I have it going right to the right landing pages, making sure that I have it going to the right list. Now we have it down to about a half-hour time frame, but normally when I'm doing any type of marketing project for the first time, I allocate 1 hour. And then I'm going to go ahead and put that in my actual planner for the day so I can make sure that I can spend that time on that. And I do it in short time, so I want to chunk it down. If it's going to take me more than an hour, then I got to put it over 2 days. So I'm not going to spend 2 or 3 hours on one thing because I need to get to those 6 things. So I'll put it, say, maybe an hour today, maybe an hour tomorrow, but it'll get done. So right now, to give you an example, I'm working on the final touches to my book, which the title of the book is How to Not Get Your Ass Kicked in the Real Estate Business. And it's a great book. It's a book that I wrote from cover to cover. A lot of it has to do a little bit about my background, my life, but it also goes through a lot of different things as a real estate agent I feel makes them successful, from time management to lead generation to just setting up the right systems and processes to building a team if they want a team, if not, how to incorporate showing agents and listing specialists. And it's a great book. It's going to be coming out in October. And being that you're on this mailing list for this call today, you will receive information on that probably sometime next month so that you can get a copy of it. But my point on this is that I had to block out time out of my schedule so that I could finish my book over the last 6 months. And I was able to get to 10 chapters, about 150 pages of it. And just today, there were some testimonials and a forward that I needed to go through and get done. And I chunked out an hour yesterday and an hour today with my assistant, and we got it done and got everything to the editor. So it's all done. All we have to do is have them go through it once and go to publishing, and it'll be printed. But again, how did I have the time on all the different things that I was doing? How did I have time to write a book? Well, I chunked it down, and I did an hour a day, an hour a day, an hour a day, giving information, typing information, delegating information, transcribing information that I put on audio, and converted it all, and this is where we came up with our book. So you'll be able to see that, like I said, next month, and it's a great book. So you want to make sure that you're doing that and allocating the proper time to them, right, and put them in small chunks. So I gave an example here, planning the day. It talks about each task you need to have into your schedule. You need to have a plan for your day, and he just talks about, everything should be a specific time slot for that. So 8 to 8:30 has on there sending a client proposal, maybe something that you had to get back to someone, a CMA that you had to do for someone, right? You went through someone's house, great, I'll get back to you with some of the information, and time goes, right? Time flies, and you just, you never get to it. And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, you're getting an email from someone saying, hey, we listed with someone else, right? Because you never got that proposal out to them. You never got that CMA information out to them. So you want to chunk that into your schedule. Check emails. Email is a huge, huge time vampire. You shouldn't be checking your emails all day long throughout the day. Every time you check an email, you're working on something, you check an email, now you go back to what you're working on. It takes you on average about 12 minutes to get refocused so you're 100% back into the game of what you're working on. So if you're going to work on marketing, you're going to work on making phone calls, wherever they may be, stay committed, stay focused on that activity. Because like I said, if you gear up, you go to that text ringing, or you go to that text that's ringing, you go to that phone call, it's going to take you 12 minutes to get refocused again. All right, so on here, just again, sample. I'm not going to read every one of them, but making time for lead generation calls, half hour here, putting in meetings, putting in lunch with a client, conference calls, again, more lead generation, working on new marketing plans, putting dinner in there, okay? Chet talks about if you're an experienced salesperson, a minimum of 2 hours a day you should be factoring in for lead generation, making those phone calls, making those follow-ups, calling those CMAs, calling those buyer leads. 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. And if you think about it, and most of you have heard the whole 80-20 principle, right, where 20% of your efforts will deliver 80% of your results, right? When I look at my MLS, 20% of the agents in my multiple listing service are doing 80% of the results. When I look at my closet, 20% of the clothes in my closet I wear 80% of the time, right? Is that true for you too? So let's factor in hours per week. On average, according to the National Association of Realtors, agents say on average they work about 50 hours a week. This is full-time real estate agents, 50 hours a week. And you and I both know that there's no way that the average realtor is just doing 50 hours a week. Maybe they're away from their home 50 hours, but they're not actually doing high dollar productivity activities 50 hours a week. But we'll take the average of 50. And if you apply the 80-20 to the 50 hours a week, that breaks it down. 20% of that 50 hours is 10 hours a week, right? So follow me here. Take those 10 hours, you chunk them down over a 5-day work week, and maybe you throw in Saturdays on there if you take a day off during the week, whatever it may be. But just say 5 days a week, 2 hours a day is 10 hours. If you could focus those 2 hours on lead generation, high dollar productive activities, that's going to lead to 80% of your sales results. And this is exactly what Chet Holmes talks about in his book, and I picked it up years ago. I'm like, you know what, I heard it, and now it makes sense to me. And, he basically just spells it out for you in his book as to exactly how you should set that up, similar to what you see here on the screen. So Chet just talked about, that's what the average experienced agent should be doing on minimum. Now, if you're a new agent, brand new into the business, or an agent that's just struggling or in a slump, he said that number should be 4. You should be putting 4 hours a day into that, because obviously if you're not on listing appointments and working with buyers, then you should be hitting the phones, not home in your underwear or doing laundry. So just something to take in mind. And then the last piece on here talks about prioritizing, and I already mentioned this, 20% of your efforts give you 80% of your results. He talks about every salesperson, 2.5 hours, 2 hours, 4 hours, again if they're a brand new agent. But you guys get the picture here. You definitely want to be doing this. And when I sit down and do an actual time analysis with my agents, just like Craig did for me back in 1998 when I started with Craig, I was amazed at how much time I thought I was working that I was really wasting my time with, right? And you want to put your most important task in the beginning of the day, right? So you guys have read that book, Eat That Frog, right? You want to eat the ugliest frog first thing in the morning. And I know that sounds disgusting just saying it, but it really comes down to that if you have something that's pressing, you have a client that you got to get back to let them know that a deal fell through, an inspection went bad, just something that didn't go right. It could be a friend or family member that you have to deliver bad news to. Get it out of the way first thing in the morning so that it's not weighing on you throughout the day, because you got to be sharp, you got to be focused, and these are the things that you need to get out of the way. So Chet talks about putting your most important task in the beginning of the day, because that's when your energy is the highest. All right, so looking at the to-do list, this is a to-do list that I used, and I kind of switched around a little bit to go about my day, and I'm more than happy to give you guys a copy of this so you can take a look at it. But this talks about the top priorities, right? So Chet talks about what are your top 6 things that you have to do for the day and get out of the way. So I have a list here of 10, because some things are quick, right? 6 things might go pretty quick, so I might have a couple other things, maybe a quick phone call or something that I had to get done that day, but usually no more than 10. I usually keep it to around 6 or 7. So these go on there, and I make sure that I have that done, and I always plan my day the day before, and I'm going to show you that in a second on some other slides here. I'll add in some personal to-dos, dry cleaning, maybe a bank run or something that I can do that maybe one of my assistants are not doing in the office. Calling my daughter first day of college. She went last Thursday. I brought her, and that was on one of my to-dos for that day, to give her a call to see how her day was going and how her first night was at college. So these are different things that you don't want to forget about and you want to keep. And this every day gets changed. So whatever you didn't do today, you'll switch over to tomorrow, because give yourself grace that not everything's going to get done every day. And then these are just some other business to-dos, calls, things that might come up during the day. I always have this in my possession so that if I say to someone, hey, I'll send that form out to you, make sure that you get it. I'm going to jot it down on here so I don't forget it, or I push it into the next day to make sure that I'm following through with people. You don't want to have 100 sticky notes all over the place. You want to keep them all in one location. That's why it's on this sheet, and this works effectively. And then time block, right? I have Outlook. I have it right on my phone. Some of you have the Google Calendar, and that's great. But what if your phone dies? What if, for some reason things just go out of blank that day for you? If you lose your phone or you don't have it, I like to have this in written format. So I'll just go through real quick, and just takes me just a couple of minutes to block in the next day and what I have. So I have it on me at all times, and I have it in paper format. And I'll start from, the gym to making calls in the morning to my meetings to everything else that I have to have on there, personal things. But I always plan my day ahead of time, and usually 2 weeks out, my wife and I sit down Sunday night, and I always put all the family activities into my schedule. All right, so that is the daily list there, and again, just some great stuff there that I'm sure that you could take advantage of and do. So if you have any questions too, by the way, anything that you may have at all, let me know, and just want to make sure I have the screen up on here. You could just shoot it into the question box, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have as we're going through, and I'll allow some time at the end to do so. But I wanted to make sure that I got through these slides first. So timetimer.com, you can go on there, and this is actual same little timer that I have in my office, where when I set and block things off, I want to make sure that I have the right time or dedicating the right number of hours for a certain task. So I'll block off 30 minutes, I'll block off 15, block off 45, but you can go to timetimer.com and pick one of these up. You could do that. I have a lot of my coaching members that just use their cell phone or iPhone. The problem with that is that if a text comes in or the phone rings, they feel compelled to actually answer it. So I tell them, if you're going to use your iPhone or one of your phones, to put it on airplane mode, so you have no data, no text coming in, and you can just use the timer with a little alarm and do it that way. Okay, but very important that you really are very focused on keeping the time to where you need to be, and then move off it and go to something else. This is back in the day, what I used to do on an actual paper format. I don't care how you do it, paper format, your cell phone, just don't keep it in your mind. You don't want to just keep it in your mind and try to remember everything. But I used to, this is a calendar that I used many years ago, but I used to cross off, and if you could see from 1 to 3 CP calls on Thursday there, that's when I used to do my calls on Thursday, and I still do coaching calls on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But this is how I would block out my time to make sure that I had everyone down on paper. All right, so we'll go over some of the 5 time management to-dos, and I'll start off by saying, planning your week. Very important to do that. Planning your day is the second one. Controlling incoming calls, third. Fourth, scheduling 2 hours a day, and I mentioned that already, of proactivity or proactive lead generation, to make sure that you have that in your schedule. And then number 5, taking at least 1 day off per week, because it's so important that you re-energize yourself and keep that energy level up. Because if you're going to work 7 days a week and you're working 50, 60, 70 hours a week, you're going to burn yourself out, and you're going to be very resentful of this business. The other thing is that your family is going to be resentful, because if you're working 6, 7 days a week, not taking time off for your family, they're going to become very resentful to you. And there's so many different examples that I don't have time to get into on this, but I will tell you that this business is probably one of the top 3 businesses that lead in the category of divorce. And the reason for that, time management. Okay, they're not giving the attention to the spouse that they need. All right, so I'm going to break these down a little bit. Let's just talk about planning your week. So these are some different tips that you're going to definitely want to take down and think about for yourself on what you do. And here are some of the strategies that I do. You want to plan that week. You want to build some structure into your life. And this is how you do it. Like I said, Sunday nights after dinner, usually 7:30, 8 o'clock, I'll sit down with my wife, we'll get our calendars out, and we'll just plan out the next couple of weeks. If there's stuff a month down the road or 2 months down the road, that's fine. But I always want to make sure that I didn't miss my kids' softball games, soccer games, even down to when they were younger. Halloween costume. You know what I'm talking about. You go to school and they have their little parade, and you'll see them for about 3 minutes, if that, as they walk by you quickly. But the smile that I would get from my daughter, I'd see her serious face walking, scared, looking at all these strangers, and then she'd see daddy and she'd be waving and all excited. Like that's priceless, right? So I wanted to make sure I had all of those in my schedule, and I never wanted to miss an event like that at school. I volunteer at school. I read to the kids at school. I've even, as they got older, came in and talked about career day and did that. Like I always volunteered and did that. My daughter, when she ran track, I couldn't believe going to all her track meets, traveling to all the different high schools, why more parents didn't come. And, looking back, I think back at it and I say, what, I understand, they had 9-to-5 jobs. They couldn't break away, right? Their employers wouldn't allow that. They only had so much time. So think about our jobs in real estate and the flexibility that we have to do this. There's no reason why you can't build that into your life. So building structure into your life is very important. How do you do that? First off, use one calendar. Don't have 2-3 different calendars going. You're going to lose an appointment. Something's going to get misplaced, and it's going to cause a lot of problems. My wife and I do use Outlook. I share my calendar with her, so she could see my schedule, I could see her schedule, and we're on the same page. And she usually books things into my schedule or changes things as time goes on. You want to schedule time off. So I mentioned about taking one day off a week. If you can't, take a Saturday or Sunday off, then take a day off during the week. Okay, you need to have that scheduled time off. You definitely want to schedule family time, and that really should be, at least it was for me, number one. I'd always put that in first, and then put everything else around it. Schedule time for health activities. As I get older now, and what I'm going to be 48 this year, I'm noticing, my hip hurts a little bit. I can't, run as fast as I did in the past, and I'm aching a little bit more. So you guys understand where I'm coming from. But point being is that, as time goes on, it's so important for us to make sure that we have health scheduled into our time management and into our schedules, because you need to have that, and you will feel much better by having maintaining a certain weight, by having that cardio in, and the rest goes on and on, right? So no excuse. And when I hear people say, I just don't have time for it, get up earlier, get up an hour earlier, block it into your schedule and make the time for it. So then the last thing on here, point I wanted to make about planning your week, schedule celebrations. When you have things that you accomplish for the week, hey, I went all week long and I got all of this stuff done, I got this project done with my book, or I got this thing taken care of that I've been working on, schedule in a celebration. Give yourself a massage, go and get a massage somewhere, or get your nails done, or maybe take a day off to go shop or something like that, whatever it may be. Maybe it's going out for ice cream sundae. I know I talked about health before, but maybe it's out and celebrating that way. But schedule it in, put it in your calendar, so it's something that you can look forward towards at the end of the week. It's going to have you work harder and be more efficient. You ever think about the last day, or a day or two before going on vacation, how much we get done? Why is that? Is because we delete all the stuff we don't have time for, all the stuff that's not important. We write a list of everything we have to get done before we leave, and we just start checking things off, and trying to get to them as quick as we can. If we can work like that every day, if we can work like we're going on vacation in the next day or two, think about how much more productive you'd be at the end of the year. So a question that I receive all the time, Willie, that's great, planning your week is great, but I forget to put things in my schedule. We talk about lead generation. Yeah, I know I have to do that, but I just don't put it in my schedule because it's not an appointment. Lead generation needs to be an appointment in your schedule, just like Chet Holmes talks about in his book. You have to schedule that activity into your schedule. So what I've done here is, when I'm sitting down with my agents and I'm sitting down with my coaching members and they're struggling with time management, I tell them, listen, if I was out there, and I was for many years, and I still go out and list homes. I don't work with buyers anymore, but I'm still out there, listing homes to the people that I get referred to, and I go out with my agents as well. But as an agent, if I was just going to be an agent today, I would print, 52 copies of this, and every week, except for obviously the weeks you're on vacation, I would start my week off with this template and then fill in around it. Okay. And this is a great template here. And just going through it, you'll see, on Sundays, I was, some of my agents still today and want to do open houses, and that's fine. I haven't done open houses in years, but open house is great, especially for a new agent, to get out there and do that. The mega open house or Sunday tour homes is a better way to do it, like Craig has taught us to do it. The traditional open house just doesn't work. If you do a mega open house like I teach, and we're not going to do it on this call, but throwing it on Facebook, throwing flyers out there, inviting the neighbors, doing it the right way could be very productive for you. So that's Sunday 1 to 3, and I tell agents that are doing that they want to do at least a minimum of 2 a month. I used to do 2 every Sunday. I used to go from 11 to 1, and then I'd have an hour break in between, grab lunch, grab the signs, go to the next house, and then I would have 2 to 4 on a Sunday. And that's back in 2000, doing Craig's stuff, but also doing open houses is how I was building my business at the time. And then eventually got out of doing open houses and focusing more on the lead generation and direct response marketing. But so that's Sunday. And if you see Sunday night, planning for Monday and then the next new week, we want to do that Sunday evening. And then I broke down the gym 4 days a week, right? So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then on Saturdays I would go. In the morning, about 8 o'clock, I would check my voicemail and emails from the day prior, put out any fires that I had to make out, add those to my to-do list of people I had to get back to, and then I was into my day. And on Mondays, we have a Monday mastermind call in my office, training and that type of stuff, so that's why I had that blocked in there. But usually from 9 to 11, we would do our proactivity times as you see the rest of the week. But if I have proactivity time on Monday, but I have, some of us have meetings and training that we have to go to, doesn't mean that I just scratch out proactivity time for the day. I just move it somewhere else in the schedule. That's why in that day I would put it from 1 to 3 to make phone calls. And it's actually pretty good to break it up, because if you're calling people every morning and you don't get a hold of them, well, chances are they're probably working, right? So by calling them in the afternoon, you may have a better chance of getting those people that you can't get in the morning. Again, around 11:30, checking emails and voicemails, going to lunch, 12 o'clock. A lot of times those lunch would be on the run. I'd bring lunches to work, or I'd meet a client for lunch and go with them, or maybe mastermind with another agent and do some accountability at lunch. And then in the afternoon, I would, again, check voicemails and emails later in the afternoon around 4:35. But I would have appointments usually in the afternoon. So if you look at the rest of the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, that's where you're making your money, right? That's where you're meeting people. After 12 o'clock, I'm out there making, on listing appointments, showing buyers homes, whatever needs to be done. But all of my stuff, all of my proactivity was done all in the morning, right? So everything was done. My energy was high. I got to what I needed to do. I have focus time, so I'm, I got everything planned. I'm in, right? I got everything out of the way, feeling good. Go take a break for lunch, and then I'm ready to go conquer the world with listings and buyers. And sometimes I'd have them in the evening, but most of the time I try to really schedule people from that 1 to 6 time frame if I could, because I wanted to be home for dinner at least 3 nights a week during the week, and then obviously Saturday and Sunday I would be home. So usually Friday, Saturday, Sunday I was home for dinner, but I try to only have maybe 1 or 2 nights a week most that I was out. And sometimes I would go home for dinner first, have a little earlier dinner, and then I would go out for an appointment after that if someone had to see me at like 7 o'clock. But there it is. I mean, it's pretty much cut and dry. It's very easy, very simple. But ask yourself this: do I have a system right now, exactly how you're looking here on the screen? Do I have something that's consistent like this, that I know every day I'm jumping out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:30, going to the gym, or 6 o'clock, whatever time you want to go, getting my health out of the way, eating well, getting a good breakfast in, and then getting right to the office 8:30 and working through, just like you would a real job, right? Just like you would a real job. So you can stick to 40, 50 hours a week and make a hell of a lot of money in this business by doing this. And you have to take at least 1 day off. All right, so I got to speed up a little bit on here and push through some of this, but I think, for the most part, you guys get the idea on here. Number 2, planning your day, and some of these I went through already, but I'm just going to kind of go through them quick. Take 15 minutes to plan each and every day. Again, like I mentioned to you before, get all those follow-up calls in there. Get those 2 hours of proactivity in there, those power hours. Second, put all your appointments in there, right? Appointments with yourself, your family, client meetings that you have to do, listings, buyers. Third, to-do items. All these little things on your to-do list, right? Those 9 pages of to-do items are really things that can be done. Like if you don't have appointments, stuff like that, and you already did your proactivity for today, that's where you focus on your 80%. That's where you focus on those non-dollar productive activities that you know you have to get done and do, but that's the time to do it. Third, not first. And then returning those phone calls, right? You want to make sure that you slot in time to make those phone calls, just like I had on here, where I had phone calls at 4:30, I had phone calls at 11:30, and I had phone calls if I had to make at 8 o'clock in the morning. So 3 times a day, you can actually make phone calls to people and be very efficient about getting back to people. You don't need to have that phone, that cell phone, strapped to your hip and answer every call that comes in. Let them go to voicemail. Train your customers that, it goes to voicemail, I get back to you. Usually 3 times a day I check my voicemail and I get back to you. Just leave me a message. If those of you that have already trained your clients that you're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, big mistake, right? I had one agent in my office complaining the other day that this one buyer that they had is just driving them crazy, calling them at 9, 10 o'clock at night, taking all kinds of time. I'm like, why are you answering your phone at 9:30 at night? Well, they need to get a hold of me, so I called them back, and so now they're calling me every night at 9:30, right? Because they think that's acceptable. Let them know, hey, after 7 o'clock, I may not be available to the next day, right? My rule was 6 o'clock. If it's after 6 o'clock, I may not get to you until first thing the next morning, so leave a message. Isn't that the same, and isn't the same hold true for their dentist, for their accountant, their attorney, right? We're professionals. Real estate agents are professionals. Why can't we be just as professional and have the same expectations that other entrepreneurs do? So very, very important that you train your customers that here are my hours, here are my times. All right, so planning your day, very important. Number 3, controlling incoming calls. Just talked about this. And if you feel that, oh my God, if a client calls me and I don't pick up the phone, they're going to know that, that I might miss them or they might go somewhere else. Not true. You want to make sure that you explain and set those expectations up front, but put it in your voicemail. Let them know that, that you're going to be away, but you're returning calls between a certain time. Right? So be consistent with that and schedule times to return your calls. So to give you a sample script of what I used to say, very simply, I say, hi, you reach Willie Miranda with Miranda Real Estate Group. Please note I will be in meetings throughout the day and returning phone calls today between 11 and 12 and again between 4 and 5. For immediate assistance, please contact my office at 348-2060. That's 348-2060, or leave your name and number after the tone, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Right? Now, I put a little bit different here. I wasn't even reading the screen, but I said that so many times to my voicemail that that's exactly how it would come off. And I, at the end, thank you and have a great day. People respected it. People will leave me voicemails and say, hey, Willie, it's not urgent. Just give me a call later on today between 4 and 5 is fine. All right? Or it's not urgent, call me anytime in the next couple days. But if I was working on a marketing project or I was in that suite space working on my book that I needed to get done, and I answered that call, it would have been 40 minutes, right? 20 minutes. Doesn't matter. It could be 5 minutes. It's 5 minutes away from what I should have been working on and been focused on and given my 100% attention to, and now it's going to take me another 12 minutes to get refocused. How many of those calls do you get in that hour or two that's going to take you off your game, right? So it's very important that you put this on there and know that when it goes to voicemail, they're being picked up on. All right, this voicemail log. How many times you guys call? And this is a big pet peeve of mine. And I actually called the coaching member the other day, left him a message, or went to leave him a message, and I listened to his whole message. He did a great job when he was going to return calls and everything else. It was about a 30-second voicemail, and then it went, beep, sorry, mailbox is full. Right? How many times have you heard that? How annoying is that? Think about that, and I could definitely see a client, a buyer or seller, a prospective buyer or seller, going to the next agent when they hear that. So what you want to do is you want to clear out your voicemails the second you listen to it. And the best way to do that, I found, is by getting them into a log right away. And this is a phone log that I use, follow-up voicemail log that you can get, and I'll show you the order number that you can get it from. But I go through, and I have this today, and if you're out in Anaheim and I'm walking around, I'll show it to you, but it has all of my voicemails that are in there. I write them all down. I write people's phone numbers down. A lot of times I'll get cell phone numbers, agent cell phone numbers, client cell phone numbers, attorneys that I need to get back. A lot of times they'll call me on their cell. I'll write down their cell so I don't have to keep calling them at the office and then not have their cell phone, right? So I refer back to this book a lot, and I'm able to take a lot of this information and put it into my database so I don't forget putting that client or prospect into my top producer. So this is a great form here, and you can get it through ReadyForm. You can get it at Staples or Office Max or any one of those places. And there's the 51114, 500 messages, right? Lasts you a while, usually every quarter or so, or sometimes every 6 months I'm changing that out. So a great little process to do. All right, number 4 on here, 2 hours proactivity lead generation. We talked about that. Well, what do I do in those 2 hours, Willie? What should I do? Is calling an attorney or calling on my deals part of that? No. 2 hours of new lead generation. I had an agent come to me the other day and said, yeah, well, what were your calls? Well, I called this attorney on this deal. I called that attorney on that deal. I called the buyer on that I'm working with here. Yeah, 2 hours. No, that's not 2 hours of lead generation. 2 hours of lead generation is making those new lead calls, your existing seller calls, price reduction calls, or buyer-client calls that are out there looking for new homes to buy. Those are who you want to be following up with. Those CMA calls, those internet, Zillow, Trulia, Success website leads, all those different things you want to have on top of your list. Notes, I'm very big into writing personal notes, getting personal notes out to people. Very important. That's the perfect time to get your 5 notes out a day. And in my company, I teach my agents 5, 5, and 5, right? That's the activity. The proactivity is the 5, 5, and 5, and I didn't write it on here. But what their COI, their database, 5 personal notes out to those that they weren't able to reach, or even maybe some people that had a great conversation with, in 5 emails, because a lot of us don't have information or cell phone number or stuff like that, but we have a lot of internet leads. Sending out 5 emails and just staying in touch with those people, staying top of mind, maybe following up on them because you saw that they were looking at a house on your website, just staying in touch with them, finding out if they're ready, trying to get their information, sending them information, that type of stuff. Adding and deleting names from your database, very important. Your success or failure in the real estate business is in direct proportion to the number of people that are in your database that when they think of real estate, they think of you. In order for you to do that, you need to stay top of mind with them. You need to be sending them daily, not daily, but at least a monthly email of some type, something in the mail, a monthly newsletter, and you have to stay in front of them because when they think real estate or they know of someone else looking to buy or sell real estate, you want to be at the forefront of their mind so that they're referring business over to you. Okay, so that's what you should be doing in those 2-hour time blocks. And as I say on here, a day without lead generation is a day you didn't work. When I talk to an agent, I go through their day, and they're like, I worked 5 days last week. Okay, let's go through it. And I don't see this in their schedule. I say, well, you didn't work that day, you didn't work that day. Willie, I was working all day. No, you weren't. You didn't put the 2 hours of lead generation you needed to do. So unless you put 4 hours the next day, you got to scratch that. You only work, 5 days that week. You didn't work the 6 that you said you did. All right, and then real quickly, the 1 day off per week. Take at least 1 day off per week. If you can't take that day off, maybe take a half day, maybe 2 half days, right, to make up for that full. But you definitely want to, block in that time off so that you're doing that. And prioritizing, implementing, and evaluate is very important. So you want to make sure that you prioritize your task, A, B, C, D order, right? So 1 through 6, 1 through 10, whatever you want to do, A, B, C, D. But you want to definitely prioritize your task each and every day. You want to do obviously your A's first to make sure that you're getting to the most important task first. Be flexible about moving B's and C's, right? Some things might not be as important the next day as something else that just came up. But most importantly, the last thing is give yourself the grace that not everything you will get done in 1 day. It's just not going to happen. As much as we plan and try to work, things happen, fires happen. Yesterday I had a video shoot for my insurance company. We blocked out 2 hours. Well, that turned into 4 hours. So that knocked down a couple things that I had to do that I had to push for today. But the point is, you got to be prepared for that, and I had some extra time in my day to do that. So it's very important, though, to evaluate, and at the end of each day, you want to definitely evaluate how well did I do with my time. You know, what did I do throughout the day that I said I was going to do, what got done, what didn't get done, and you got to really determine, you know, what are things that you could have done differently. You know, what are, you know, could I, you know, I should have never went to the office. I should have went to the library and did that. I should have went to my suite space. I could have locked myself in my home office and did that. You know, you got to determine, and then next time don't make the same mistake. Acknowledge your achievements, right? Certain things that you have, you want to make sure that, you know, you feel good about certain things, and, you know, you high five your staff, and, you know, like my administrator was here today. She did an awesome job the last 2 days, and I just kind of looked over everything, and she was going on to somewhere else, and, you know, I just gave her a big high five. I said, hey, you know what, great job. I did a great job, and we'll see you tomorrow at 9:30. But very important to do that. And then lastly, you know, always plan out your next day. Don't wake up in the morning and try to just figure out, all right, what am I going to do today? You know, am I going to go to the gym? Oh, it's already 7:30, so it's too late. You know, am I going to go to the office? You know, I got this laundry here I got to do, or, you know, I got to go cut the lawn or something like that. Like, already have it planned your day. Make your next day down on paper. It's unbelievable what your subconscious mind will work on throughout the day or throughout the night, so that the next day you already have answers to questions that you set out to yourself the day before. That's how powerful it really is. All right. So again, I'm looking for some questions, you know, looking for some questions for you, and I see a couple on here now. Thank you very much. Pam, you had on here, you dropped off. Please repeat the 5, 5, and 5. Okay. So 5, 5, and 5 is proactivity, right? Those 2 hours a day that you should be doing. What are things you can do? So why I put this together is because just so many agents made a big deal about that 2 hours and what to do. So I said, listen, if you can talk to 5, remember, not just pick up the phone and call, oh, they weren't home, go to the next one, 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 and there's 5, but no one was home. Actually contact and talk to and speak to 5 people in your database every day, right? And they could be current buyer leads, current seller leads, or they could be people that your prospects that you need to get a hold of. You want to knock off 5 of those. The second 5 is personal notes. Getting to those personal notes, very important. I want to make sure you're doing 5 a day. That's 25 a week. That's 100 a month. You start doing that, you're going to get a lot of repeat and referral business, and you're going to make a lot of people's day by getting that personal note to them. And then the last 5 are emails, because a lot of us don't have, especially for some of those prospect leads, we don't have phone numbers. So you need to email these people. Like, don't take those email leads that come through from Zillow, Success, or whatever, and you have a wrong phone number for it. It's not a lead that you waste. You want to still reach out to those people through email and apply a good follow-up system, right? And I've talked in the past about the 3-4-12. Not going to get into that on today's call, but 3 times in the first 72 hours, once a week for 4 weeks, and then once a month for 12 months. That's like 19 touches. You're not going to lose that lead. And if you could structure that into your day and into your follow-up, you'll be so much better on follow-up. So that's a whole other call we can do on follow-up. But that's how the 5, 5, and 5 works. And I have some of my agents that like to text. They have a lot of millennials in their database that really don't answer emails or look at emails, right? So I've even added that as a 5. So we could probably do 4 5s. You know, actually do 5 texts a day as well. So Pam, I hope that answered your question, and that's what we have on that. Eric, you had a question on here. Can you email the slides and documents to us? I found that sometimes emailing this may be too big of a file. What I will do is I will drop them into a Dropbox link and share the Dropbox link with you. So if you are interested in this and like a copy of this, just email me at wmiranda@mrgteam.com, and I'll type that up on the screen here in a second so that you have that. So let's see what else I can share with you. So there, and I'll put this to-do list in here too, Eric, so you have this. This is a Word document that you can print out, and every day, I probably have about 20 of them in my little bag here, but I have clean ones already, so every day I start off with a fresh new one, and it's always done the night before. and I have a new one for today. So I'll send that Word document out to you as well. I'll send out the Chet Holmes time management sheet that I showed you. And Warren Flack, a lot of you know Warren as a great coach and a friend of mine. He took what we learned through Craig years ago and just added a couple other bullet points on here. But what Craig would teach us is if you really want to know what you're doing throughout your day and you really want to master time management, you need to really focus on that 80-20, and 20% of your time really needs to be on your pro activities, right? And I think at that time even Craig was pushing us to be at least 4 hours a day. But point being is that he said every 6 minutes, write down what you were doing. And take this sheet, and every 6 minutes you put in there what was a task you were doing, right? And maybe over an hour time you just cross out and you put what you were doing. But the point is that he wanted us to record this and do this over like a 2-week period. And at the end of 2 weeks, we all evaluated it, shared it with each other, and went through it. And it was amazing how much time we wasted on stuff. I mean, water cooler conversations, hour and a half, 2-hour lunches, on and on and on. I don't have to go through the details. Sitting there on email for 2-3 hours doing email all day. Just ridiculous stuff. Surfing Facebook and social media, wasting time on that. So the next thing, and I think Warren added this, was my skill required to do some of these things, right? So how many of these tasks could we have delegated to an assistant, paying them $10, $12 an hour, so that we can go out there and get $100, $200, $300, $1,000 an hour activities done for ourselves, and then delegate the rest. Did I like it? Great question. Yes or no? No, I don't like doing paperwork. I don't like going and get keys made, or I don't like putting up lock boxes and signs. All right, well, wasn't required by you. What would be the cost or the amount of money you have to pay someone per hour to hire them? And you put that on there. This is how you come up with a really good key assistant for you in building up their job description and delegating a lot of these tasks to them with this form. So I'll put that in a Dropbox as well, so that you can shoot that over to me. And so I'm going to open up some questions. And thanks, Eric. Dean Miller said hello. Tell Dean I said the same thing. Dean, a great friend of mine, and spent some time with Dean down at his restaurant in New York City, which was delicious. Drank a little bit too much, though, with James McDonald, so thanks a lot, Dean. Appreciate it. All right, so let me just put up my email on here, and so you guys can see it there on the screen. So I'm sorry about that. wmiranda@mrgteam.com is my direct email, my personal email. If you want to send me an email, I'd be more than happy to send you the link to Dropbox with all the attachments. So I should have probably said that in the beginning of the call. If you were jotting down all these notes down, I apologize, but I'll make sure that you have everything on those slides, and also the different tools, strategies that I used. But it's definitely something that I'm hoping that you guys got a lot of good feedback from, and love to get your feedback as well. If you want to just send me an email with some of the feedback, here's what I love to get. And for everyone that sends me an email today, I'm going to throw in something different. I'm going to throw you a copy of my listing presentation. How's that? I'm going to give you my current listing presentation that I have. That's killer right now. And we've listed, 250 homes now on our listing presentation. I'll see if I have it here on my screen that I can show you. And I'll also give you this 14 steps to a listing appointment, all the different things that we do, how we obtain listings, all the different things that we do, but actually going through step by step by step. Notice here, number one, be on time. Time management, right? That's what we're talking about today. I cannot believe the number of agents that show up to listing appointments 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 5 minutes late. It's such a disservice and so rude for you to do that to a seller. You want to make sure you're on time and even there early. So we go through this, and I've won listings over, and I've asked them, what was the difference between me and that other top producer? You know what, Willie? You showed up here on time. You were prepared. He gave us all the detail. This other guy came in there. He was 15 minutes late. Didn't even apologize. Didn't even look at my house and was already into writing a contract. Right? How many times you guys heard that? So I'll throw this 14-step process in there so you have that, and I'll also give you a copy of my listing presentation. Just shoot me an email, and I'll send it off to you. So wmiranda@mrgteam.com. So what else do we have on here? All right, Eric, thank you very much for the comments. Pam, thank you very much for the questions. And if we don't have any other questions, I think we're going to go ahead and end this call because we're just about at our end time here. But I think I answered everyone's questions that were needed, and we are about 7 after the hour. So again, if you have any personal questions you want, give me a call. But here's what I'm doing. On the 18th of September, I'm going to be doing a little mastermind session, probably for the whole day. I'm just going to take some of my coaching members that I'm coaching in the Gold program and taking a few people that signed up that wanted to come to the 2-day for filling out a survey that I did with Craig. You guys know who you are if you fill out a survey recently. On the 18th, which I don't know what day that is. Let's see. That is on Friday from like 9 o'clock to 4 or 5 or whatever it takes. I don't care. We'll have drinks at 5:36. But I'm going to sit down and I'm going to be 100% focused on having a great mastermind session with you guys, sharing a lot of these different things, showing you some things that we're working on with follow-up, with video blogs, just a lot of different things that we're doing to grow our business here at Miranda Real Estate Group. We're going to do 600 home sales this year, and it's just awesome. We've got great agents and a lot of great students that are agents that are doing a great job, and I'm going to share that with you. But also we're going to go around the room and get good feedback from you guys of what's working for you in your marketplaces. So I tell everyone to bring copies of things they want to share, at least 15 copies, because if you have multiple people on a team, they'll just take one. But the mastermind session works great, and as some of you know, I facilitate the Diamond Mastermind Group with Lester Cox and do a great job with that, and we get so much benefit from 2 days of just masterminding. So I'm going to be doing it on Friday the 18th. So if you're interested in that, shoot me an email, wmiranda@mrgteam.com. Love to have you part of it. But I will tell you that the only way you can get into that is, you got to share. You got to bring something to the table, a tool, a marketing idea, something that you're using. You need to share, and believe me, you will get a hell of a lot more out of it than what you bring to the table. Because if everyone's sharing, you're going to walk out of there hopefully with good 15, 20 great ideas that are working for people in different marketplaces. All right. So Anaheim coming up next week. I can't wait. I'm psyched. And I really appreciate you guys being on today's call. I do have a replay of this call in case you came in halfway. Once we get that done, I'll make sure I get it out to everyone that signed up for this call. But a lot of great feedback from many of you on the call, and I'm glad that you guys were able to make it. So with that, we'll see you guys out in Anaheim next week, and we'll be looking for your emails at wmiranda@mrgteam.com. Thank you guys very much, and have a great night.